Hello and welcome to the Road to Division 1. This is a brand new series on the channel where I'll be taking two limited Premier League teams with the hope of getting them from Div 5 all the way to Division 1. To do this, I've given myself what I think is a reasonable budget of 100 Great British Pounds, although I've got a confession to make, I may have gone over budget already. I miscalculated how much I had in my wallet and I thought I spent £100. I spent £104 and 2 pence, all right? So we're technically taking a budget of £104 and 2 pence and we are running with it. Now, I will quickly say I actually spent £98 and 19 pence on the main players and £5 and 83 pence on like 6 players to add to a collection to get an extra few percent bonuses on one of the collections. So yeah, I actually only spent £98 on players that I'll be using in lineups, but yeah, it's £104. But I'm saying £100, and if you cry about it, then you know, go message Laird. I bet Laird would love to hear all your complaints about this series. So please, if you guys have got anything you want to add to the series, message Laird. I want to quickly answer a couple of questions. Firstly, why Premier League? Why not Bundesliga or La Liga? And two answers really. First of all, it's a lot easier for me to watch Premier League games. So I much prefer playing Premier League because I can just flick on the TV at 5:30 p.m. on a Saturday and watch whoever's playing, or 12:30 p.m. for the early kickoff. So yeah, for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I much prefer watching the Premier League, and it's a lot easier. And I can also find a lot more information easily about injuries or potential absences and things like that. I can find that information out a lot easier. So we're sticking with the Premier League. If you want to see a new series on this, a new season, should I say, in a different league, maybe next season, then yeah, if people like this series enough, maybe we'll take it to a different league. But at the moment, it's going to stay Prem. That's kind of how it is. Maxime asked, isn't the goal to earn your £100 back? No, it's not. I thought about it, and the original idea was spend £100. How long does it take to win that £100 back? Now, the issue with that is that if I'm being brutally honest, you can absolutely blag it on Sorare, get insanely lucky, and make it back pretty quickly. If I go to game week, are we in game week 45? No, this is 45, right? If we go to like limited Premier League in game week 45 and we look at the prize pool, I don't want to ruin it. Yeah, prize pool right here. If I accidentally got first place in Div 5, and obviously we're going for that, but you can never put out a lineup that is guaranteed to get first place. If I accidentally got first place and made $100 back, that's already almost everything paid off. And yes, that would be cool. And, you know, it would be a cool goal to try and pay everything off. I think it's a bit more skillful or a bit less luck-based to try and take these lineups from Division 5 to Division 1. I also want to move in and out of different players throughout the series. I want the series to last longer. And I think that although it is difficult to make back your money, I think that there is a world in where you can do it with a huge amount of luck very early on. And I want to try and eliminate that as much as possible. That being said, yes, there is a lot of luck in Sorare itself. I'm not disputing that. There's a ton of luck in Sorare. I just think that the way I'm doing it kind of eliminates the luck a little bit. And I realized you couldn't see the prize pool behind my fat head anyway, but yeah, the first price is $100. So yeah, what I was saying is true. So that's why we're doing the sort of road to Division 1 rather than the road to making our money back. And like I said, I also want to move in and out of players. I want to change things up. I want to have different players by the end of it. I don't think for £100 you can build 2 lineups that will sustainably stay in Division 1 comfortably. Maybe you think differently, and if you think differently, then go for it. But I don't think that you can buy, let's say I went out and bought, I think about 20 odd players, right? I don't think there's a world in where you can buy 20 players and then in 18 game weeks time, first of all 20 players still be starting, still be fit, still be healthy, and also them being able to have gone up the divisions enough to get into Div 1 or stay in Div 1 if you start in Div 1. So it's not a good idea. I think it's a much better idea to try and get to Div 1 and also move in and out of different players and whatnot. Now, I'm starting with 12 Essence here. Now, this Essence is actually split between Contender, Global, and Challenger. When we get to 20 Essence for the first time, I'm going to rip it instantly at Tier 5, just to get rid of it, basically. And then from there, I will be building up the Essence. That's Premier League Essence only. If I get a Premier League card at Tier 5 plus, we'll decide if I keep it or not later. If it's a really bad card or whatever, I might just keep it. If it's like, if I went and got like a Palmer, I'm not going to keep it. It just ruins the series, in my opinion. So yeah, we'll figure that out. But then from there onwards, anything crafted will be kept or sold, and everything that I keep will be used for improving the teams. We'll obviously keep track of everything that we've won, all the player buys, all the player sells and whatnot. That'll all be kept track of. Daz asked a good question, said, are you going for a 50-50 split? No, I'm not. What I've done is I've bought 2 goalkeepers and then a collective of outfield players that I like a lot. There's a strategy behind it. We'll talk about that later. But I've bought a selection of players that I plan on playing in these lineups. I've not bought stacks. I've not bought full team stacks. Well, kind of. You'll see in a second. I think it'd be super boring to spend £100 on 2 individual team stacks and just run them. Like, yes, if you want to do that, maybe that's effective. Maybe you've had success with it and fair play. For me personally, I just think that's a bit boring. I'm playing the game my way, which also takes me on to just say this, right? And I don't mean this in a horrible way, but this is not a community decision series. This is not a series where everyone gets a say on what we do. This series is how I play the game. I'm playing it the way I want to play. I don't want anyone to tell me what they think I should do. I don't want any advice or any help. It's not appreciated. And I know that sounds horrible, but what I mean by that is it's not me getting to Div 1 if you give your input. If you tell me, oh, you should go and buy this guy. If I've missed news on an injury or something like that, that's different, right? Like, you know, we're all trying to help each other out with DMPs. If I see injury news, I'm going to tell you guys, like I tell everyone in the Ramble Discord or whatever. But if you're like, oh, you should go and buy this guy, and this guy, it's just not, then it's not me playing the game my way. And if I get to Div 1 playing it your way, then I'm a fraud. So I kind of want to play it my way. So that's kind of how we're doing it. Now, let's have a look at the Road to Division 1 contestants, shall we? So the collection players I bought are these Crystal Palace players at the top. We've got Remy Matthews, we've got Chris Richards, Nathaniel Klein, Lerma, Schlupp, and Kamada. I won't be playing any of these in lineups. They're just to add to collections, basically. We're going to go from the bottom upwards. Lukic and Yang Min Hyuk were bought 5 months ago and 9 months ago. They're not involved in the series. I can't use either of these cards. I'm not allowed to use them. They're not involved in the series. They are effectively discarded away. I don't want to sell them or anything like that because, like, well, I don't know why I have Lukic, to be honest. I guess if someone wants Lukic, just make me an offer. I'll give you him for free. But only if you've got a Fulham collection. Actually, wait, did he add to my Fulham collection? I guess, oh, well, we'll figure it out. Anyway, I'll probably give that away. And Yang Min Hyuk is in my Gang 1 collection, so hands off. He's mine. We bought Dean Henderson and Ortega Moreno as goalkeepers. Now, the strategy for this is I am looking in a very short-term, narrow-minded, like that. Not doing that. That didn't mean that was supposed to be a telescope, not a dick. I'm looking in a short-minded, narrow-sighted window to try and move up 2 divisions quickly. The aim is to get into Div 3 in both lineups within a couple of weeks. Now, that'll be difficult. I'm not saying that's going to be easy, but the reason why I picked certain players, for example, Palace have a couple of nice matchups coming up, which I think they could potentially do well in. I think that away to Leicester, I'm really hoping that the Palace lads can get to Division 4 with this matchup. I think away to Leicester, it's 1,000,000% possible. And if we only get into Div 4 in one of the lineups, then Palace will then be in the other lineup to try and get to Div 4 away to West Ham. Couple of decent lineups. It's very possible in the game week 46 window where we don't have a Premier League game, maybe I move out of some of these Palace players and buy some other players when, you know, the harder fixtures come. We'll see. But that is the idea, is to sort of play Palace in a couple of game weeks fixtures here that are nice fixtures for Palace. We've also got, for example, Van Hecker is more of a longer term player. I think that he's a player where he can do really well for only £3. I quite like him. He's been quite poor this season, but I think Brighton are going to start finding a bit better form. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. We have Damsgaard, who I love Damsgaard. I've got him in rare as well. I think Damsgaard is such a quality player. I'm glad that he's doing really well now at Brentford. He's only 24 years old. I mean, look at these scores in the Premier League this season. He's been quality. For only £7 is why I bought him. He'll probably stay in this series for a very long time. Ortega Moreno is a complete gamble. This is why I say I'm playing so rare the way I want to play so rare. The way I see it, I actually think he's better than Edison. I think that Pep prefers him to Edison. I think that he will play more games than Edison, right? There's a couple of, I mean, Brentford away is not a good fixture, but Ipswich away is a good fixture for them coming up. I think that, you know, next week, for example, when Palace play West Ham, my main lineup will be Ortega Moreno against Ipswich, providing he's going to start or whatever. So, like, that's, now you're starting to understand the strategy, right? I've thought 2 or 3 game weeks ahead for this and tried to plan these buys. And that's why it's more of a road to D1 rather than a road to £100, because then I'm going to move in and out of certain players as well. Ugarte and Leitra I bought from United because I think both are AA monsters. Ugarte, I think, will show people he's an AA monster in time to come. Leitra, you can already see he's an AA monster. I like them both, and I think that they will pay dividends. Man United have got a couple of nice fixtures coming up, including Southampton at home. Tielemans, in my opinion, is a bit of a sleeping giant on Sorare. Now, I say that in the regards that I think Tielemans is a quality player. You can see that he's got the potential to hit some high scores. He's on half, if not all of sets most of the time. Usually shares half with Digne, but sometimes Digne gets subbed off. And also, Tielemans this season in the Premier League has got the highest percentage for forward passes. He's just a good player. He's a good creative player. And I think down the line, yes, Arsenal and Monaco aren't great matchups, but then you go into a sort of period where you've got West Ham, Celtic, Wolves, and Ipswich in 6 game weeks. That's where Tielemans, in my opinion, will possibly be captain material in some of these lineups. Now, I ignore the Champions League fixture. I don't think we'll be able to play a UCL lineup, but if we can, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. João Pedro, I like a lot as well. Raul Jimenez in the right matchup's good. I think he's a good pen taker, and he links up well with Anthony Robinson, who I've got up there. Hudson-Odoi is another one where he can get 10-20 AA in a lot of different fixtures, and in the right fixture, he'll be in there. Forest play Southampton at home in a couple of weeks. We'll have Hudson-Odoi in there for sure in one of my lineups, potentially captain material again. So that's sort of the group of players we've bought. I've not gone for the cheapest of the cheap. I've not gone for the most expensive. I've kind of gone with like some players at £8, £4, £5, £10, £9, with the most expensive being Dean Henderson, because a goalie you kind of have to splash out on. But we're going to play it. You're gonna understand my strategies more and how I view Sorare as time goes on. I do play it a bit differently in Rare to how I'm going to play it in Limited, but you'll kind of see how we're playing it as time goes on, and hopefully it'll give you a bit of an insight into my brain and how I think about certain players and certain matchups and fixtures and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with things. And like I said, I mean, if you've got any questions or anything like that, I'll happily answer them in the next episode. If any of you guys, I saw a few people saying they might try it themselves. If any of you guys want to join me, spend £100 on players and document your success or failure, be sure to keep me updated, whether it be through Twitter or Discord or anything like that, and I'll be happy to feature you guys in the episodes and show people how you're getting on and what you've been running with your lineups and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of how we are going there. And don't get me wrong, it's January. Some of these players could potentially transfer to other teams. They could potentially be off to Saudi Arabia, or maybe someone does their ACL next week or something like that, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Maybe we go down to one lineup at some point if we have to sell players to bring in new players because maybe both goalies transfer or something. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm hoping this series will last the entire sort of 3-4 month period we have now until the end of the season, and then maybe we do another season of this series with a different scarcity or a different league or a different area of the game. We'll find out. But thank you all for watching. If you guys do enjoy, leave a like down below, subscribe if you guys are new around here. Thank you for the support on this channel, and I'll see you guys in episode 2.